In our last conversation, we kept circling around this same deep tension where a woman can
Mhm,
be very polished, she can be very
mhm,
productive, high
mhm, mhm,
capacity, and honestly, she can be very serious about her spiritual life,
mhm,
but she
mhm.
still could be operating from survival,
Yes.
fear to fail, because I
Yes.
unapologetically, I cannot
Yes.
fail. Okay. I
Yes.
cannot do that.
Mhm,
And the most important piece that that unresolved pain and why that's
mm,
so important,
mm.
especially behind closed doors.
Yes.
That theme has been very alive in our last two conversations. The women who can clearly win in public but
Mhm.
still be emotionally unwell in private, and how to get
Mm.
them unstuck.
The
So
infinity loop where you just keep going round and round about the same thing and you have not resolved it because we are, again, so unaware of the possibility of that pain. And then if we are aware, how do we really face it?
mm,
Especially face it seemingly alone, because it's a
mm,
very difficult thing to sit with something and have to look at it by yourself and not have someone to communicate what it's like for you.
mm,
And I know that experience well, not having someone to just say, well, I wonder if there's something wrong with me.
mm,
Although I am absolutely sure there's some broken pieces, but that doesn't make me someone who is necessarily broken without the ability to be healed and to be
mm.
whole again. So if you're married, you blame a husband. If he would just, if you have kids, you blame the kids. I'm just so busy and I don't have space to really deal with me. Or we blame jobs, we blame circumstances, we blame failure, which is the best part of our life, and we just don't get that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna come back to this. We blame failure because that's gonna get
Hmm.
us into talking about Leah today, which I am very
Yes,
excited about. But
yes.
before we go to her,
Mhm,
because in our first episode that we talked about, we talked about the one just amazingly esteemed woman, Antoinette, Dr. Antoinette,
yes,
who unfortunately took her life
yes.
some years ago. She worked in
Mhm,
academia,
mhm,
and based on the letter that she left behind, based on what her friends were saying about her,
mhm,
we would describe her as this woman who's reached the peak, who had all the knowledge, the skill, and
mhm,
ability in the world. She
mhm,
was the friend that would show up at two
mhm,
o'clock in the morning and drive 4 hours for that friend.
mhm, mhm.
But the one question that I asked was, where was her who
Mhm.
you are to me, Miss Jackie? That
Yes, yes,
that woman
yes,
that woman who's
yes.
walked through the fire.
Mhm,
She's walked through the mud. She has, you are fully embodied in that conviction. And I know,
mhm,
your story is long and deep and wide, and
mhm,
we can get
mhm,
into that,
mhm,
at a later time too. But one thing that you said that piqued my interest was having somebody to talk to about these things,
mhm,
especially as a high achieving woman who I don't want to fail, or at this point,
mhm.
I don't want to fail publicly. I don't want other
Publicly.
people to know that I failed. So, how, what is the criteria that we can use to
Mhm.
find somebody like yourself,
Ooh.
life coach, executive
Mm.
coach, therapist? How do we go about finding that person to start sharing, at least start to broach the conversation?
Um, well, there are different ways. Well, I would say this: whomever you reach out to, let's say you randomly go online and look for a therapist, you want to ask whoever you're going into this relationship with, are are you, first of all, trauma informed in a way that deals particularly with executive women?
Mm,
And that's just a simple way to do it. And when trauma informed actually means that, you studied it or whatever, but it also means you have your own relationship with it. If
mm,
you have not had a relationship with some childhood trauma, whatever, you cannot relate. You have all the information. It's just like reading the Bible, knowing all the scriptures, but not having a relationship with the scriptures. It never got off the page for you. Well, you cannot help me. And it's just that simple. Whoever you begin to communicate with, if that person don't begin to communicate from a space of, I truly, personally understand, They can't get you where you need to go because they know things to make you aware of because they have like experiences. And I know that's a taboo in the therapy world because we don't like transference.
Mm.
Understand that. But
Tell
at the
tell us
same
what,
time,
yeah, what does transference mean? Just
so
for us.
transference
Yeah.
is, yeah, pretty much about giving people enough information, and your information transfers to them. They begin to feel the same thing, thinking that they're having the same experience. Um,
Mm.
Not necessarily true if you know how to do your job. So the work is to give people enough information so they become aware, you know what you're talking about this particular case of life. One, what? Being a woman, being a high achieving woman, understanding success, especially on the educational part, and then understand trauma behind it all. How did you actually get there? So, for instance, comedians tell jokes because they're in pain. There's not one comedian
Mm.
out there that's a comedian and really good at his job, except they have the experience of trauma. That's
Wow.
it. What makes
Wow.
things funny for them is because they actually feel it and know the experience of it all.
Right.
That's the only reason it's funny. And they use that instead of actually working through it, dealing with it. They just use it to keep living life without
Mm.
actually doing the work behind it. Make people
Mm.
laugh about it.
Right,
And that's
right.
how they live. And it's the same thing with any trauma, math, any trauma you've experienced. If you don't do the work, you have to find a way to put it out there in a way that doesn't offend anybody, but you haven't necessarily worked through it. But a woman who works through it becomes aware of who they are. And so what they get out of working through it is a clear identity and a clear line of purpose.
Hmm. First, that is powerful. In my mind, I was looking for, she needs to have these credentials. She needs to have been practicing for this long. But the most important thing that I'm hearing you say when
Mhm.
it comes to identifying somebody to help us walk through this road, number one, she needs to be a professional, of course,
Mhm.
but she needs to have a relationship with trauma. She needs to fully understand that. And again, that takes us back to the point that we have been making for now 3 episodes. Competence or I'm sorry, competence into conviction, going
There you
into
go.
conviction. If she just
Yes.
has a lot of knowledge, if he just has a lot of knowledge and they can just tell you how smart they are, that
Mhm.
may not be the person. We need to be
Yeah.
asking, do you have a relationship in trauma? Are you trauma informed? What
Mhm.
have you walked through? Tell me about your experience. Because I'm really, at this point, I'm trying to get free and I don't need to play around with that at this point.
Right.
So
Right.
I absolutely love that. The other
Mhm.
part that you named, so being sure that we understand if this person is trauma informed, but
Mhm.
also do they work with high achieving women, which
Yes.
oftentimes is executives, which oftentimes is,
Right.
women who are running highly successful businesses.
Mhm.
Because if they don't even understand that part, the type of success that we're pursuing, they
Mhm.
might tell me, "NaTasha, just slow down."
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
what? You want me to do what? I don't
Yeah.
have time to slow down.
Don't
I
have
have
sinus.
kids, I got a business, I have, a
Mhm.
husband, I have all of these things happening. So even
Mhm.
to hear
Mhm.
that, I'm like,
Mhm.
my heart stops a little bit. So
Right.
I
Right.
love what you're describing. So that
Right.
takes us into who I'm very excited about, because if this woman was in the audience today, I know for a fact she would resonate. You and I
Mhm.
can relate to her because she was an oldest daughter. Okay.
Mhm.
She had
Mhm.
the weight of the family on her. She has the cultural
Mhm.
weight on her. She has
Mhm.
all of these different aspects, all these different life domains around her that were heavy.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
is Leah. So in our last
Mhm.
conversation, we got to this point. It was like the pinnacle of the conversation, but we
Yeah.
thought we had to go.
Yeah.
Um, it was Leah. She had that oldest daughter energy,
Mhm.
making it work, but at what cost? And a
Yes.
woman who clearly was angry with the
Mhm.
Lord, or most importantly, she felt alone in her marriage while she was still doing that performing
Mhm.
externally.
Mhm.
This is where I want to take us next and where I really want us to
Mhm.
dive into, because I truly believe if Leah was listening to this,
Mhm.
even how you just described how she should go out and find that person, it would
Mhm.
resonate with her.
Yes.
Having somebody in her space, in her
Mhm.
circle, who
Mhm.
can walk with her through the pain of,
Mhm.
I'm with a man who will literally never love me, and I'm only
Mhm.
getting what I thought I wanted only
Mhm.
in my death. I can't even enjoy it. what are some initial thoughts that come to your mind about
Mhm.
someone from the ancient days?
Right,
Um,
right.
that's a high achieving woman going through something through this type of pain.
So even looking at Leah, you see all of the pieces, as you just said. You see all the pieces of having to take care of everybody, making sure everything's in place, and believing it was her time. It was her time to be successful in this one particular area. And when we are Leah types, I suspect, like Rebecca in the Bible, had to have been um, the same way. And who was the warrior? Who was the warrior that actually led the armies?
Deborah.
Um,
Deborah.
Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
Deborah, high achieving woman out front, have to make sure this thing is successful, because if it doesn't succeed, first of all, they're going to look at me as, oh, you didn't succeed because you're a what? You're a woman. What were you doing out here leading these men? And secondly, you've got a word from the Lord that's guiding you to get to this place. You must make this come to pass, supposedly. But if she was dealing with things, some form of pain, some form of inconsistency in her um, family of culture, there's no way she could successfully listen and believe she was hearing from the Lord. And secondly, actually got out front without fear. Deborah got out front without fear. She wasn't concerned about anybody but getting to her mission, which was her purpose, right? But if she had been in some form of pain, she would not have been able to pursue or to complete the mission. Whereby Leah,
Mm.
not understanding purpose at all, not having anyone in her corner to really have this conversation with, because her father was a trickster, just
Mm.
like the man that she wanted to be married to,
Mm.
Jacob. He just kept tricking the man, including using her, which she had to have given into this. She had to
Right.
have okayed the fact that she was going to bed this man on his wedding night to her sister,
Mm.
but instead took her sister's place
Mm.
to get what she believed she wanted.
Hmm.
And
And I wonder what she believed was rightly hers as the oldest daughter
as
going
the oldest
along with this
daughter,
plan,
absolutely.
right? Like, this is my position.
Hmm.
This is what I deserve. It's what I
Hmm.
want. And
Hmm.
my dad, I know my daddy probably ain't no good, but if this is what he wants to happen, I'm aligned. I'm gonna go with it. What you're
Hmm.
reminding me of is even drawing another comparison is Mikhail or Michael, David's wife,
Yes, David's
Saul's
wife.
daughter.
Right.
When
But she wasn't the oldest. That's what makes her different.
yes, she wasn't the oldest, but when her daddy was coming to get rid
Hmm.
of David, she let him
Hmm.
know, like, hey, my daddy is coming to get rid of you. Might want to run away. You
Yes.
might want to go do.
Yes.
She had her man's back, right?
Hmm.
In my
Hmm.
mind, because I think sometimes we want to spiritualize the people in the Bible so much that we lose their
Yes.
humanity. And so
Right.
what you are drawing on is if we just put ourselves in Leah's shoes, her going along with this plan seems very plausible.
Hmm.
And she could have been like a Mikhail or Michael, however you say her
Yes.
name, but she could
Yes.
have been like her to warn, hey, Jacob, my daddy ain't no good. And he
Right.
wants me to do this. I know you really want to be with my sister. We
Exactly.
could have figured this out, but you're right. I love that you're drawing us into this story
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
may have went along with that because
Hmm.
she didn't want to deal with whatever she had going on,
Hmm.
um, with whatever pain she might have had.
Because historically speaking, you're absolutely correct. Because if you look at it historically, she had lost her mother. So here are two girls without a mother, right? And so she's been playing the mother role. Think about it. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest. I'm out here. I've been playing the role. Certainly, it's my time to receive this. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
gonna go alone. My dad. So yeah, I'm in pain. I got total emotional pain and family of culture issues that I'm
Right.
dealing with. That I should be married. I
Mm.
should be married first. And there's no way this should be happening to me. Sometimes, if we look at things from the perspective of this is what I desire. Here's who I should be, instead of knowing clearly it is. She did not know clearly. She was going along with the cultural issue of that time. And that was an issue,
Right.
that you had to be the one to get married at that time. But there were so many other things that she could have done rather than get married.
Right.
It's just like starting a business and you insist that's the business you should start, but you've not really looked at it. You've just going on along with people who joined the military because my father was in this and my grandfather was in this. But what are you called to?
Wow.
And women find themselves in that space. For instance, when I got married, I immediately just start cooking because that's what I saw my mother do. This is my purpose in life, to prepare these meals for my husband, and not necessarily have a life. And it took
Right.
the power of the Holy Spirit to say to me, you need a life. You have
Mm.
intelligence, you have purpose, you have a reason. You are not just built to fix these meals and prepare all these things and put the man in a place that almost on a pedestal, instead of you sit beside him. And he never wanted me behind him doing all of that. He
Right.
says it to me even till this day. I don't care if you cook or not. Can you just make sure we have a meal in the house? I don't care where you get it from. But because I watched my mom do such things, I immediately just picked it up, right? So sometimes we fall off of who we are supposed to be, what we're purposed to do, just based on family culture stuff that we put into our pockets and say, this is it. Leah did just that. And
Mm.
she actually was able to live out her purpose because God loved her so much. And here's what's so powerful about
Mm.
Leah: with the trickery, with everything that happened, although it was lawful in that
Right.
culture to do just that, she was able to birth all those nations within her.
Mm. Mm.
She gave him all these babies, and she was able to see her purpose through the babies.
Mm. Mm.
She was. And so she found some joy, but still also such pain because she was never loved.
Mm.
Never loved the way she deserved to be loved.
Mm.
But the father loved her. And that's the part she had to hold on to.
Mm. Something, I mean, there's so many good points that you
Mhm.
that you touched on here. And one of the ones, let me ask this. Do you think she ever got to a point where she realized what it was costing her to make this work? Like,
Mm.
if we just gonna be real here, she was going to get those mandrakes, okay?
That's right.
She's
That's
going
right.
to get those mandrakes. I'm gonna purchase you, okay, tonight. Tonight is my
Mhm.
turn, Jacob. Come on.
Mhm.
Or I'm gonna let my sister know, hey, I know it's supposed to be your night tonight, but here, take these and have your boys go, do whatever. But tonight is my night. Is that good? We cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
That's pretty much how the scripture reads. She
just
said,
straight
hey,
up.
here are these mandrakes. You give me a chance to be with them another night. And it worked because she was pregnant again.
She was pregnant
She was pregnant
again.
again.
So is so to what you're saying, there is this beautiful parallel thing, interesting thing happening where she fully understood who she was, like what the Lord had called her to, like her purpose. But then she
Mhm.
also had this other side of her, like being willing to bring these children to pass. But she also had this other side of her that just truly yearned. I'm talking, you could just, any woman who reads that and has ever felt any sort of yearning inside of them, whether it be we're running away from the abandonment or the rejection, which I've talked about often, but really are yearning for this person to love me, to value me, to care me, to see me as significant and
Ooh,
important in their life.
yes.
Maybe
Mhm.
not in my own, unfortunately, but in their life.
Right.
Do you ever think that she thought, if she just sat back, what is this costing me to make it actually work?
No, and you can see it in the scriptures the way it reads, because she continued the process, and the goal for the children was not for her necessarily just having the children. I don't think she even saw a purpose, and probably towards
Mm.
the end, as you get older, you go, aha. But she lived this whole life of not recognizing that. I don't believe she ever got to the point and looked at the cost, except maybe when she was older, at a point where she could no longer bear children, because the goal was, he's going to love me if I have another child. It was always the hope. of having another child to create some type of connection between the two of them. And that was never the case, even after her sister died.
Mm.
Again, in childbirth, just like her mom, that was still never the case
Wow.
for her. And sometimes it's never the case for us if we don't become aware that maybe that wasn't fully the goal and purpose of my life. Maybe the first thing I needed to do was understand who I was, because what you also can see in the scriptures that Leah never necessarily cared about herself or loved herself, because it never says in the scriptures that she was had there was some purpose. Now, remember, her sister was a shepherdess. She dealt with sheep.
Right.
She was called a shepherdess. They tell you who she was. Leah was just the older sister.
Interesting.
Nothing behind her name, nothing to say, here's who I am. And
Right.
so you can sort of read into it that did she ever identify as anything other than a mom like figure,
Mm.
other than a person who supported everybody in the family system?
Wow.
And if you only hold on to that and don't know exactly who you are, what you're called to be, which is really clear sometimes when you just see what you do well and then you do it well and you desire to do it well.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
that's in your brain pattern. There's a pattern that's already in your brain, and you lean towards, you live for it, and then you begin to see how it fits into the world system we live in. Like for me, I love to learn in order to teach others.
Mm.
So my goal in education was never just for me and say, "Oh, I'm super smart." Once I learn something, my goal is to go find somebody to tell it to, right?
Right.
Now, through the work of coaching, I get to do just that. Oh, I know exactly what's going on with you. Let me give this to you as a gift. And when I give it, I am fulfilled.
Mm.
Right? I
Mm.
am totally fulfilled once I give it to you. It makes me want to go get more. Oh, let me find this other book. Let me find this person who's speaking. I'm going to get this and then I'm going to give it to someone. So now their life will be transformed. The goal is
Mm.
transformation. Leah didn't have a goal in mind other than to be married, to be this wife. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what she identified as.
Wow.
And if she had identified with that, she would have found solace in that and not in just wanting to be loved by this man.
Wow. That's a read. That is a read because what you are, I mean, if we went 100 episodes, and let's say that's what we're gonna do, 100 episodes,
Yes, it is.
what you just reminded me of is what you've said before. When you walk into a space and you realize that maybe you're not receiving the type of energy you need to receive from that room. Maybe somebody is
Yes.
not trying to learn, they're
Mhm.
not trying to pick up knowledge from you.
Mhm.
That's going to not allow you to be who you need to be in that room to have the
Yeah.
impact that you need to
Yeah.
have. So you have to, in that room, what you said was, I have to set boundaries. Hey, I see that
Yes.
you're on your phone for the next 60 to 90 minutes. I need you to be off your phone. Whether
Mhm.
they're going to receive it or not, you have to
Exactly.
create the environment that you need for you to
Mhm.
embody who you need to embody because you know who you are. And
That's
I
right.
don't think, you know, whoever is listening, we need
Mhm.
to get that part. How the
Yes.
atmospheres that we walk in, how the environments that we walk in, the rooms that we walk in have to change. They have to
Mhm.
shift if we
Mhm.
are going to be able to fully give from
Mhm.
who we know we are. But we first have to understand and know who we are. It
Mhm.
sounds so simple, but
Mhm.
it's work to be done. And I
Mhm.
remember as you shared with me, in my
Mhm.
mind, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna sit with you and you're gonna coach me.
Mhm.
And in 30 days, I'm gonna be good. Okay. I got the knowledge. Thank you
Yes.
very much for letting me know.
Mhm.
Everything's about to change now. And it took years because
Yes.
I was so stubborn and pushing up against,
Mhm.
well, I think I'm embodying who I am. So why isn't my husband changing? Why isn't my employer changing? Why isn't the community? Everyone else should be changing around me. But from what point should they be changing if I'm not fully willing to accept
Mhm.
who I am? And it sounds like, that's what you're saying about Leah. So let me go to this
Mhm.
next question then. How do you know? Because Leah clearly had a lot of knowledge. She was pulling from her family of
Mhm,
culture, as you
mhm,
have, shared with us. That piece, that's number one, family of
mhm,
culture. Um, and she was also pulling from, what she saw her mom do. So let me do, you know, mom says you're supposed to cook that meal. Mom says you're supposed to be a good wife and, make sure your husband say, all of these pieces. But how do you know when competence, like you just knowing so much, has become almost a self betrayal? Because if I do value education, if I do value learning, if I do value achieving every goal that I set out to achieve, and I need my knowledge, skill, and ability to do that, I know you're not telling me to stop gathering that information, but how do I know when competence is
mhm,
actually the thorn in my side, so
mhm,
to speak, and what will let me know that I really need to stop
mhm,
before I get in too deep here? Um,
mhm,
yeah, I'll bounce
mhm.
that over
Yeah.
to you.
Confident, what you have can betray you. Your competency can betray you because you ever met anyone who was good at a lot of things, just good at a lot of things,
Jack
and
of
they
all
had
trades.
jack of all, but they're good at it. Like it works for them. Like they can go into this space, they can go into that space, but they burn out. They get cancer. They things happen in their world. Something happens to break them because none of us are meant to do everything. We were meant to do particular things. And God only gives us what we need for those particular things. So when we waste them in all these areas because you're competent in them, you have the ability to. So you just keep walking in rooms and not being aware of, no, that's not my part. I'm good with you doing that. I'm so glad you're good at that. You walk into a space and you say, oh, that's perfect. I share with you all the time. I am not administratively well. It's a sickness. It doesn't work for me. I need people around me.
Right.
And I'm well aware of that. And I love having awesome people around me for those areas that I am not good at.
Yeah.
I can competently do all of them,
Come on. Right. Right.
but I know that's not my part.
Right.
So I'm more than willing to walk into a space and say, here's what I bring to the table because I am assured of my purpose in whatever arena that I enter in. I can help with anything, but my competency will betray me if I get off and try to help you decorate something. It will.
Hmm.
I will get into blowing up those balloons where when I'm better at setting order for how to get the balloons done.
Yes.
Let me
Wow.
set order. I need you four to do this, and then you're going to do that. I can set order,
Right.
but I can also blow up the balloons. Which one I'm going to use it for?
Mm.
Because if I use that space to just blow up the balloons, I'm missing an important piece.
Right.
Someone can learn something, someone can become aware of something, which is always my purpose
Right.
to help someone become aware of something in moments of time.
Wow.
It can be very simple. So if a woman does not declare who she is and what she's been purposed to do and love that for herself, her competency can also betray her.
Mm.
And she feels like, she starts to feel like she's not good at anything because nothing really gets her there. She
Mm.
doesn't become emotionally well through doing all these vast things because she hasn't done the
Mm.
one thing that she's truly called to do, or has not become aware of the one thing that she's truly called to do. I see women in churches that can sing, that can speak well, that can take care of kids, and they find themselves trying to do it all.
Stretch thin.
Stretched thin.
Mm.
What are you really called to do? Who are you really called to be? Discover that, hone in on it. Why? Because you will love yourself and others then, or you will hate yourself if you don't, and you will begin to despise others because you will blame them for not
Mm.
getting the fulfillment emotionally that you need.
What you just touched on goes into Rachel and Leah's relationship.
Mhm,
Her and her relationship with her sister, I imagine, based on what you just described, if they were both sitting here in front of
Mhm.
you and you are coaching them on their relationship just as sisters,
Right.
that would, it sounds like that would be the crux of why they're having so many
Mhm.
issues. Like it seems like
Mhm.
they were gelling and having, they were best of sisters before
Mhm.
before Jacob stepped in the picture. And
Yes.
then all of a
Yes.
sudden it became, it's me against my sister now, which sounds, being someone with sisters and being the oldest sister,
Mhm. Mhm.
that hurts, hearing something like that. So understanding who I am, being willing to be real about the pain that I'm feeling, having a desire to get emotionally healthy is not
Mhm.
only good just for me and to
Mhm.
prevent me from going to burnout because I just know so much,
Yes.
but it also saves, salvages, protects the
Mhm.
relationship with the people that I absolutely love the most. Is
Mhm.
What are your thoughts to that? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I mentioned the word cancer. That sounds kind of harsh, but if you go and speak with any doctor who really works in the realm of cancer treatments and things like that, what they've become aware of, and we have to know that too, dealing with psychology, that anytime the brain is overwhelmed with negative toxins of fear, overwork, just emotionally not well, it affects the entire body.
Mhm.
It affects the entire body. Then the body is more open to diseases and sicknesses, right? That's why I say it's a betrayal. Not that that's the only way you get sick,
Right.
but it is a huge evidence based situation that truly makes you sick. And we have to decide that that's not who we are meant to be. And I won't give in to anything that will cause or take away from anything that I am purposed to do. You have to set that type of goal, because if not, you will find yourself inundated with things that throw your neural pathways off, because you'll get on a track of something that's so far off from where you're supposed to be, but it feels right. For
Yeah,
instance,
right.
your child comes home and say, "Mom, our teachers need X, Y, Z. Can you be that mom?"
Mm.
And you have to declare to yourself, "You know what? I would love. I would absolutely love to be that person to you. But that is not my highest and best use.
Mm.
It's just not, it's not where my brain can give you everything. But here's what I can do. I can volunteer one day to do X, Y, Z. Because if I allow all of that energy in and commit to be that person, and that is totally not what I'm purposed to do, I'm failing me, and I also fail you as a mom. If
Mm.
we can be honest about that and say what we can do, then we are still walking in our purpose. And so a woman may think, "Well, I'm high achieving, but I want to be there for my children." Exactly, you should. In what space, though? You get to declare what
Mm.
spaces you should be in with that. Can you give them a Tuesday every week and say, "I'm going to copy these papers and do that? I'm going to do these things. I'm going to be here in this class where I would commit to you for these 2 hours." Absolutely, you can do that. But what you can't do is commit to being over the committee.
Mm.
We can't do that. Although we would run it well. Think about it. You would do well at it. But then you're taking this negative energy because you're going to be frustrated the entire
Right.
time because it's
Right.
not truly purposeful for you. You love your children,
Mm.
but you have to manage what you've been given
Mm.
where it doesn't turn around and betray you in
Mm.
your body.
Mm.
Just because you have the ability doesn't mean that's who you are to be in that moment of time. But yes, you can create spaces to be a part of things that take a couple of hours or take a whole day. But
Right.
you cannot commit to giving your whole self into something that's not who you're called to be.
Mm.
But you have to know that.
You have to know that. And I can hear the comments right now. A mom who, what do you mean? Not, I want to be there for my kid every single event. I want to serve on
Mm,
every single committee. If I can't be the head, I'm not going to be the tail. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
I need to be present, fully present in every single way possible because I need to show
mhm.
my children that I was there for them,
Uh-huh.
all through, grade school and even college and, even now. But that is the point that you are making.
Mhm,
If I come to terms with
mhm.
where that comes from, maybe my
Yes.
mom wasn't there,
Yes.
but have I thought
Absolutely.
about maybe my mom couldn't be there?
Oh,
And I
there.
have compassion for that. So if I'm not understanding what is driving my pain, I'm going to flip that, overcorrect, and turn it into I'm going to always be there for my kids.
Overcorrect. That's it.
Overcorrect.
Overcorrected. I'm going to fix it so my kids never suffer that.
Mm.
Yeah, overcorrection is just as painful because you're so frustrated. So here's this overcorrection. You give all into this situation that you believe your kids are loving on, but what you're not recognizing is that you're so mean and angry with them. Oh, you're doing everything, but you come home mad, and you go from one glass of wine to the bottle, you go from one bottle to two, and you're not understanding
Not
what's
even.
going on with you. Why am I not myself? Because you're committing to something that you're not called to commit to. There are so many various ways you can pour in your kids and be there. It's one thing we have to learn. Being there for our children means being fully present with our
Come
kids.
on. Wow.
So if I can be fully present during dinner, if I can be fully present at an event, that's what I do. But I can't be fully anything all the time. You cannot.
I This is the message. Okay? This is because maybe just in the West and our
Mhm,
Western way of thinking,
mhm.
what you are describing is completely opposite
Yeah.
to what societal voices tell us, to what cultural voices even tell us.
Yes.
I remember when I left the military and um, my Mark and I got married. I moved to Guam, had Daniel, okay? And I remember getting calls from, some family members. And it's been maybe 2 or 3 months, right? I'm out the military
Mhm,
and I'm sitting here with a 2 to 3 month old baby.
mhm,
And I remember being asked, what do you do all day?
mhm,
I
mm,
remember for years, 4 or 5 years, just being embarrassed of being a stay at home
mm.
mom.
Oh, wow.
I need to be doing something else. I need to go back to
Mhm,
school. I need to
mhm,
get a job. I need
mhm,
to, maybe I need to build my own business. I need to find something else to
mhm,
do because I'm not a stay at home mom.
mhm,
That's not doing
mhm,
anything.
mhm,
And it wasn't until, I went to, we got stationed in Hawaii and I was
mhm,
around these women, these amazing women
mhm,
who loved the Lord and just weren't frazzled by anything. They were a lot older, a lot more
mhm,
mature. Their kids are, in their teenage years and things like that. And I will never forget sitting in a Bible study and they were all going around, and these are all stay at home moms. And they were all sharing how they just enjoyed and loved being at home with their children
mhm,
and
mhm,
seeing
mhm.
them hit these milestones. And I remember thinking to myself, what's wrong with y'all? You should be doing something different. You should be doing something else. But when I finally rested in the fact that I get
Yeah.
to be home and raise
Mhm.
my son, and that's my chief responsibility for now,
Yes. Mhm.
that was something to come to because it was
Yes.
completely
Yes.
against what I had been taught, what I had known, or
Mhm.
even what some of the
Mhm.
voices were telling me. But
Mhm.
again, what I hear you saying is this is why it's so important to do this pre-work of who
Yes.
are you? What is the pain? What is your
Mhm.
struggles right now?
Mhm.
Um, and then start to walk out and pursue this journey of just going from competence to conviction. I don't know how else to say it, but um,
Yeah. Yeah.
let me get into this last.
Can I respond to what you
Yes,
were saying? Because
please.
I think
Yes,
that's super
please.
important for the questions of what I just said. So there are super high achieving stay at home moms, for instance. The stay at home mom who has set everything in order and decided to homeschool, volunteer somewhere after those times and put their whole life in an order that everybody knows exactly where they're going, exactly what they're doing every moment. But here's the thing, even about the high achieving stay at home mom, you're still not good at everything.
Mhm.
And there's space that you have to declare where you're going to be completely available for those kids at a particular time. Your children require for a space that's just about them and you, not about the homeschool work, not about preparing dinner, not about getting things done in your home. There is a space. And even high achieving stay at home moms have to come to the idea of who am I called to be and what am I called to do and what spaces I'm going to set aside for them. And here we go, for me.
Mm. Mm.
See, we cannot completely give our total selves into anything because that leaves nothing. There leaves no space in your brain to heal and be whole if I'm giving everything to justice.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense. Your brain won't even receive that because you become frustrated and inundated, and then you're not good at connecting to other emotional pieces like others,
Wow.
your spouse.
Right.
Hopefully you can understand that it's fine to be all of these things, but what are you good at every moment? Any moments, what are you setting up that has to develop your brain to be the best you and not just developing kids are the best them?
Wow. Wow.
We have to acknowledge that as women and not feel bad. Not one scenario that we're in, even as uh, a high achieving woman who's now raising two of her grandchildren. I am only emotional available to them at particular times. Here's when I know I'm at my best. Here's when I'm not. And there has to be space that I limit those spaces for them, that I go to do something that I'm good at, that I'm called to, that I'm purposed for. So when I'm with them and I can give them total, I can totally give over everything that's in my brain that they need for those moments. But outside of that, I'm no good to that system. And I have to have something else in space in place for that.
Mm.
That makes sense?
That gems, gems, gems. Okay, when you writing a book, because we're gonna need the book. We're gonna need the playbook. Back to that. Okay, this reminds me, of Leah and the boys that she was raising, right?
Mhm.
Although Reuben was an amazing big brother, I believe he was the one
Mhm.
who saved Joseph from being, killed by the other brothers, right? But you can even start to see, if we look at it through the lens that you're taking us
Mm.
through, how
Yes.
emotionally unavailable she might have been to those
Yes.
boys, even
Yes.
to her own daughter. We know what happened with the
Mhm.
daughter, which
Mhm.
all of us,
Mhm.
my God, we resonate with that. And so we
Yes.
understand, okay, well, what else were those boys supposed to do? You look at what you did to my
Right.
sister, but where was Leah? Where was Leah? She There was something she was still desiring from
Mm.
her husband, that
Mm.
again, even in her death, she only got him laying, next to her,
Yes.
but he was gone. He was gone also. So again, there's this really powerful journey that you are
Mhm.
pushing us to go on. And
Mhm.
honestly, if we're just being real, this journey is not for everybody.
No.
It's
Oh,
not
that's
for
so
everybody.
powerful. I'm glad you
Please
brought
go.
that up.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. See, you have to be called to this. You have to decide that I really want to be all that I can be. So if you
Mm.
decided that the good enough life, that's fine. Good enough is good enough for particular people. When it's not good enough, when you really want a quality life, scripture goes to Zoe life again, Zoe. That
Mm.
means a full, totally engaged life. Um, in God, of course. But when you want that, you got to go back and deal with how you've been made, who was a part of that making, and who gave the pain to that. Where did you receive pain? What was the first reason for the pain, and how did you come out of it? How did you get through that journey and become fully who you are. If you're okay not knowing it, not dealing with all those family culture issues, that's okay.
That's okay.
You can live, die, and go to heaven.
Mm,
Amen. But if you want to completely fulfill and not walk so outside of who you are and who you identify as, you have to go back and look at where did it start? How did you get here? And how do you become? Once you get the information, you start becoming. It's not sit in it and not and stay in it forever. It is
mm,
become aware, begin to move forward.
mm,
Become aware, begin to move forward. As you move forward, each step will take you through and get you over the process of how it sits in your brain.
mm,
Each step of moving forward gets you past that part in your brain,
mm.
that you eventually get to a space of this is truly who I am. This is truly what I'm about. And I'm fully confident in it. And you don't allow anybody to take up so much emotional energy to take you away from that,
Wow.
because you only have so much emotional energy and you can't give it away to everybody in every situation.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I can sit here and speak from conviction because every single thing that you're saying is the process that you were pushing me to walk through
Right.
years ago. And had I not walked through that, I could not sit here before you right now and
Mhm.
say that, not in a woo woo social media kind of not authentic kind of way, but I can truly sit before you and say, I feel fulfilled. And
Ooh.
because of that, when I step into rooms,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what room,
Mhm.
I'm not concerned with if you like it or don't like it. I'm not
Right.
concerned with if you want me to come back and share or not come and share, because I know that when I walked in this space, I was
Mhm.
able to create the atmosphere that I needed to
Mhm.
be able to
Mhm.
fulfill the role that I know God has called me to fulfill in this room, in this space, because I know who I am. I know the
Mhm.
pain that I have walked through. I'm familiar with it. But
Mhm.
now, instead of just being happy, I just want to be healthy and I want to be available, as you're saying. And I could have done none of that had I not
Right.
done some of that work. So not some of the work, all of the work,
All
because
of the work.
that's
You
why I
did the
took some.
work.
That's why I took some time, because I was trying to do some of it. Okay, I
Yes.
have one last question for you that I would love for you to share with me and with the amazing people who are listening. But
Mhm.
what does a woman truly gain?
Mhm.
This woman that we're talking to, this high achieving, high performing woman, who we are not telling her to slow down.
Mhm.
What we are telling her to do is be introspective, to take some time
Yes.
as she's
Yes.
going along to do some work, because
Yes.
Leah couldn't stop. She had to keep it
No.
moving, right?
Mhm.
What does she truly gain when she no longer has to just make it work? We no
Ooh.
longer have to go keep getting those mangroves, okay?
Mm.
But she no longer has to make it work because she finally knows who she is. What does she
Mm.
gain
Mm.
from all of
I think
this?
we talked about that, and the greatest thing that you gain when you do the work is peace. Word peace means nothing missing, nothing broken, and there's nothing lacking. Imagine your brain being in a space, and you just said that's where you were. Where when you walk into a room, you are fully confident because you're at peace. You are fully aware of who you are. If Leah had decided to be clear on who she was and her not truly having a need that Jacob loved her, because God had proven that he loved her more. She would have never had this kid. She would have never been able to live the life she lived had not God loved her so much that he gave those things to her, given her full purpose and given her someone to love and for someone to love her back, all of those children. If she had become completely fulfilled in that particular purpose and call, she would have gained the peace that allowed her to be so aware of her competency, of raising a family with clear vision on who they are. She could have put into those boys, here's who you are and here's who you shall be, which is the goal of the mom and every mom, to
Mm.
give our children identity.
Wow.
Here's who you are. Here's who you're always going to be because this is your purpose. It is our job and goals to pour that into them and they begin to walk in it. And you help motivate them by reminding them. When I speak to my grandkids and they have gotten in trouble about something, my goal is to get them back to their identity.
Mm.
You did do this. That was a fail, but that's not who you are.
Come on.
Here's who you are.
Wow.
So they can walk into the same peace and not have this generational bondage of not knowing.
Wow.
If Leah had had the space to focus on that and not have this desire that was not her call for this particular man to give her some type of love, and we don't know what type of love that is because he came in, he made babies with her, he provided a home and space, but she didn't have the emotional connection to him that
Mm.
she desired. But
Mm.
she had all these kids, and I'm sure a place full of people that loved and cared for her.
Mm.
But when it's not enough, you don't take the time to give full heartedly into what your purpose to give. Remember, you only have so much of it. And if she could have put identity in each one of those boys, the things that they did, they may not have done.
Mm.
Just possibly,
Right.
just
Possibly.
possibly.
Right.
They've been so aware of who their father was and what they were called to be and do.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think she
Hmm.
missed an opportunity because she wanted something so much that was outside of the realm what she was ever going to have.
My God. My God. What you are, we gonna look, we need like 5 more minutes, okay? What two things you're touching on, and I'm gonna capture this because I think we absolutely should come back to this, which is
Okay.
there are two voices, and this just hit me the
Mm,
other day.
mm,
It's interesting that the voice we constantly hear when we are walking in purpose sounds like, I am powerful, I am redeemed,
mm.
I am righteous,
Yes.
I cannot fail. We are going to make this happen. We are going to be successful. But there's another voice when we are, down, right? And when we feel discouraged, and it sounds
Oh.
like, you're going to fail.
Mm,
You know that this isn't going to work, right? You know they're going to talk about
mm.
you. It's interesting that both of those voices have very different pronouns. One is I,
Yes.
we, and then the other one is very accusatory,
Mm,
you.
mm.
And what you are describing is when we understand who we are, it's interesting. I am. The identity is I am. And when I speak to
Mhm.
my children, our moms, we have been so far removed from our mother's house
Oh,
that even
yes.
to this day, my I am that I hear is something that my mama told me when I'm
Mm,
12 years old and maybe I was cutting up and she, in so
mhm,
many ways gathered me
mhm,
together.
mhm,
But it sounds like I am. How amazing is that? But when I'm in
mm.
a place that I'm not operating from who I am, it's
Yes.
shame, guilt, resentment,
Yes.
frustration. Like a lot of these emotions
Yes.
that come with it are accusatory.
Yes.
You, what are you
Yes.
doing? We know what that
Yes.
voice is, but
Yes.
bringing it back over to what you're saying, the woman that I know that's listening
Mm.
and that feels that she's in a relationship, whether that's an intimate relationship with a husband, or another kind of partner, or even a relationship with her kids, with her community, with
Yes.
friends, who
Yes.
feels that, okay, because one side of this, as you know, it's like this wave of people just cut everybody off, block them, don't ever talk to them
Yes.
again. And maybe
Yes.
for some people that might work, but I
Mm.
don't hear you saying run away from the relationship. I don't hear
No.
that. What I'm hearing
No.
is, while you are in the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you need to fully understand who you are. to
Mhm.
understand how you are about to operate next, regardless of this person. You've talked
Mhm.
very little about Jacob, but you are talking so much about Leah, and
Mhm.
that is the point.
Yes.
What is your reaction to that?
Yeah. So if we can look at this from the perspective of Leah, I want you to imagine if Leah had decided, oh, here's here's who I am. I can identify as a mother, as a good mother who's been blessed with all these beautiful children, who has set order for her household, who I'm sure she had creative abilities. I'm
Mm,
sure she created various ways to do various things to make sure those boys and that daughter had what they need.
mm,
If that could have been her focus on her creative abilities and not on this emotional connection that she thought she needed and desired, Jacob could have, and here's what usually happens when a woman becomes fully aware and fully focused on what she's capable of. Jacob then may have turned around and went, wow,
mm,
wait. Oh,
mm,
wow. You get it?
mm, mm,
But when we're leaning on somebody to tell us and make us who we're supposed to be,
mm.
they lose the respect for you. They
Wow.
lose the desire to be in your space because you begin to try to take for them what they're not willing to give. But when you are
Mm,
focused on who you are and all that you bring to the table, you become fully aware of who you are and you get this overwhelming sense of ability to achieve,
mm.
ability to be good at this. And you see yourself, and people turn around and go, oh,
Right,
wow.
right,
Because you're no longer leaning on them to get what you need, but you're moving forward and they want to be a part of that.
right.
What a man and an organization does not want to be a part of is someone who's unsure,
Mm.
because that's going to cost them more.
Right, right, right.
But a company or a group of people who see someone in power of who they truly are, powerfully walking in their identity, fully aware and knowing where they're going, oh, they want to be a part of that. It is not a hindrance for them to be a part of that.
Right,
All they're bringing to the table is all that you ask them for, but you're not leaning on them to make you better or leaning on them to make the system better. You're saying, oh, I'm going to make the system better. As a matter of fact, the
right,
system's great because I've already put this together. I
right,
need you to come in and be a part of this. Jacob may have looked in and went, oh,
right.
all
This
you
is what
need
I got
is
over
my
here. Right.
love. Yes, you are amazing. Wow, look what you've done. All of these, all 9 of these kids, 10
Right,
of these kids.
right.
Okay, I
Yeah,
got you, girl. I can do this. Can you see
right,
it? Can you
right.
see it?
I see it. Which, what you just described, how we look at some women and then we're like, how
Mm,
did she get here? How did
yeah,
you get those? You and I have not gone a conventional route. It has not
no,
been like this cookie cutter way that we've
no.
gotten to where we've gotten to, um, because there is this clear understanding of I know who I am. And when you walk
Mm,
into a room with that level of confidence, I know that I'm going to get you the results that you need.
yes,
So
I'm
now
sure.
that person on the other end
Mhm,
is willing to pay any amount of money, willing to
mhm.
give any amount of opportunity, willing to pull up any chair, open any doors that they need
That's right.
to, because they see, I need you on my team. I need
That's
you
it.
in my space.
Mhm,
This is such a powerful conversation. I'm
mhm.
very excited, once again, to continue to episode 4.
Yes.
Um, I Leah
Mhm.
is she's only mentioned in a few chapters.
Yeah.
Well, her story as in she's being alive,
Yes.
she's referred to in others, but
Mhm,
it's so important for us to look back at her through fresh
mhm,
eyes, through a
mhm.
place of standing in her position and seeing why
Yes.
she's making these decisions. And
Mm,
we don't have to be the person that
mm.
waits in death to get what
Oof.
we think we want. There's
Yeah.
something that we can have right now, and you are
Mhm,
providing that way for us. So I
mhm.
truly appreciate you for once again
Thank you.
sharing your knowledge.
Mm, thank you.
All right. And pause and cut.